Drake and Josh was the funniest sitcom of all time. Each episode had funny one-liners, crazy moments, and unexpected endings. One episode in particular had a more sinister plotline that disturbed audiences. Megan's Revenge, Season 4, Episode 13. This episode was different from the rest. It was based around fear, torture, and manipulation. Megan conducted a sleep deprivation experiment on Drake and Josh. Her techniques were unethical to say the least. She was inspired by the infamous Russian sleep experiment, a World War II project that studied the effects of sleep deprivation on the human mind. Later in the video, I will briefly summarize the significance of this project and how it inspired Megan to conduct her own experiments. Except in this case, Megan tortured her test subjects not in the name of science, but because she found amusement from their suffering. And by the end of the episode, she uncovered a dark truth about human nature. Follow along as we dive into Megan's sleep experiment. The episode begins with Drake and Josh eating salads on the couch. A supermodel knocks on the door asking for directions. Josh lets her inside to use his laptop. Drake wants to take a picture, so he tells Josh to get Megan's camera. After taking pictures, they go back to Megan's room. Before Josh returns the camera, he takes a picture of Megan's hamster, Hervé. The camera flash causes Hervé to pass out. Immediately, the brothers scramble to revive Hervé. Realizing the severity of the situation, the brothers decided to come clean. Drake and Josh confess to Megan, begging for forgiveness. At this moment, Megan decides to conduct an experiment. She uses fear of retribution as a motivator to keep them awake. Megan plays it off, telling her brothers not to worry. Drake and Josh relax for a few seconds before they realize who they're dealing with. Drake begins to worry, telling Josh it's a setup. Josh knows Megan wants to lower their guards for a sneak attack. The fear of not knowing what Megan will do begins to drive them crazy. In reality, she's in her room reading the Russian sleep experiment Creepypasta. During World War II, a group of Soviet scientists gathered 5 prisoners of war. All subjects were placed into a chamber, along with a 1-month food supply. Toilets, fresh water, and books were all provided. Soviet scientists filled the chamber with a stimulant gas to keep the subjects awake. Prisoners were promised freedom if they could stay awake for 30 days. 5 days into the experiment, subjects became increasingly irritable and distrustful of each other. On day 9, subjects were slowly losing their minds. One of them screamed for 3 hours straight until he shredded his vocal cords. Other subjects began to smear feces onto the walls. Some subjects were whispering into the microphones, begging to be released. Their pleas fell on deaf ears. Day 14 was quiet. Not a single sound came from the chamber. Scientists decided to use an intercom system to see if they could get a response. A calm voice responded, "We no longer wish to be freed." Researchers were debating whether or not to shut down the project, but government officials wanted to continue. On day 15, armed soldiers entered the chamber only to be met with the horrific sight. One of the subjects was lying dead on the floor with his stomach ripped open. The 4 live subjects had been eating parts of the body for several days. The smell of rotting flesh nauseated soldiers. Scientists noticed each subject had large chunks of flesh missing from their bodies. They had been eating their own flesh for several days. Researchers described the subjects as walking corpses, being able to see the lungs, digestive tract, and ribcage from open flesh wounds. Elite Russian soldiers were too scared to retrieve the live test subjects. They had become monstrous creatures that no longer wanted to be free or fall asleep. One soldier had his throat ripped out, attempting to restrain a test subject. 5 soldiers also died trying to muzzle the remaining 4 subjects. After accidentally killing one of the test subjects, the other 3 were taken in for emergency surgery. After performing 3 surgeries with no anesthesia, 2 subjects were returned to the chamber for further examination. Military command ordered the chamber to be sealed with researchers still inside. One scientist grabbed his pistol and shot the commander, then turning the pistol on the mutilated subject when pulling the trigger. The researcher asked the last subject, "What are you?" The subject smiled. "Have you forgotten so easily? We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free at every moment in your deepest animal mind. We are what you hide from in your beds every night. We are what you sedate into silence and paralysis when you go into the nocturnal haven where we cannot tread." He pulled the trigger, killing the last subject. Megan was inspired by the Russian sleep experiment. She used fear as a motivator to keep her subjects awake. Her subjects were on edge everywhere they went. They didn't eat food at the house. Both of them drank Mountain Dew and sat back to back each night for at least 5 days straight, trembling with anxiety, living with fear, anticipating Megan's revenge. Nowhere was safe, so they thought. Megan was lying low, letting her reputation strike fear into their hearts. The experiment was going well. She managed to keep them awake without any illicit substances. Imagine if she put LSD in the orange juice. Drake, why are you wavy? Josh, why do you have a big head? At the premiere, Josh barely managed to stay awake. His cognitive function rapidly declined since he hadn't slept for several days. Megan's presence sent the brothers into a panic frenzy, devoured by their own paranoia. Drake and Josh no longer trusted other people, even going so far as to believe Megan hired people to lure them into a trap. After making a huge scene at the movie theater, Drake and Josh decided to only trust each other. Megan was cleaning the entire house when they caught her leaving their room. Immediately, they started tearing the room apart, looking for booby traps, afraid that one of them will trigger an explosive device, release toxic gas, or find a dead animal hidden somewhere. Completely engulfed in fear, the brothers become increasingly unstable. Josh becomes hysterical, telling Drake he can't handle not knowing when Megan will strike. He's unable to eat, sleep, or have peace of mind. Drake is worried about Josh, so he tells him to take a nap. Suddenly, Josh stares at Drake like he just betrayed him, asking him, "Why do you want me to take a nap, Drake?" Both of them begin to turn on each other, claiming the other is in cahoots with Megan. Things quickly turn violent when Megan appears out of nowhere. The both of them beg for mercy, pleading for a quick punishment, telling Megan to just get it over with. Megan tells them they've already been pranked because she kept them awake through fear. The experiment was a success. Her subjects stayed awake for 1 week straight through the use of fear. Megan's experiment was cut short because she didn't want a complete bloodbath like the Russian sleep experiment. In the end, Megan demonstrated an uncomfortable truth about human psychology. When survival instincts are brought forth through intense stress, humans revert to their animalistic nature for the sake of survival. The dark side of the human mind, or the shadow self, was heavily studied by Carl Jung, a famous psychiatrist who concluded that animalistic instincts are part of the shadow self, the part of the brain responsible for reproduction and survival. The shadow also contains creative and destructive energies. In these cases, Megan and KGB scientists both conducted vile experiments that highlighted the destructive capabilities of the shadow self. These instincts are concealed within the subconscious mind, able to be accessed at will. The shadow also contains unlimited potential, while at the same time possessing dangerous power. Fundamentally, we all carry the capacity to commit violence under survival circumstances. Megan's revenge was disturbing because it exposed the darkness that lives within each of us. If you enjoyed today's video, leave a like, comment something down below. I love telling stories. I'm getting back into the groove of things. It's been a while since I told a story I care about. If you enjoyed the story, leave a like, comment down something crazy you thought about this video, and I'll respond to it. I love you, bro. Hey, told the judge pass my cup.